Hey, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Joined today by Nat Wolff. What's up, man?
How's it going?
Great to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
How's everything going?
It's going really good. I'm happy to be here. We've been doing a long day of press so far today, and then we have the premiere tonight.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How long was the shoot for this whole thing?
Seems shorter than the press day. At this
The
point.
press day can really be a lot longer than you think, right?
It was 8 weeks, I think, and then it was 2 weeks of military training.
Right.
And things, yeah.
So a little bit longer than some of the movies today, because some of these are like
Totally.
it's a month, it's
Totally,
3
totally.
weeks, we're just
Yeah.
banging it out.
Yeah,
This
that-
kind of needed a little bit more time, it seems
It
like.
did, and I think we shot in Spain, in the Canary Islands. I think having it there meant that we had more, they just got more days
Totally.
of shooting, yeah.
And at a certain point, it's like you're picking all these projects. It's like, oh, we're going to shoot in Spain. Like, let me do this one real quick. I could spend 2 months in Spain. Like, why
Yeah,
not?
I mean, this is the kind of movie where I didn't even get to see any of Spain, which is a bummer.
That's a
'cause I'm
bummer.
working every day, and it's like the most intense. So on the weekends, I'm just like sleeping.
You're
I'm,
done.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so dead. But it was nice. Like after we wrapped, I spent a couple extra days in the Canary Islands, which was really
It's not a bad place
yeah.
to be, right?
Yeah.
So you've obviously been talking about the movie all day, so why don't we go backwards first?
Okay.
Let's talk about the beginning, because I look at your family, I see
Yeah.
music, I see
Yeah.
acting. Clearly that was the theme of things. So take me back to growing up and just some of your influences.
Yeah, I grew up in a house where everyone was an artist. So my dad's a jazz pianist, my mom's a writer and a well-known actress, and all their friends are painters, musicians.
So just all art, all the
yeah,
time.
so I grew up thinking that's just what everyone did, kind of. It would have been more of a stretch for me to become a lawyer or something.
Right. It's like, oh, I'm going to be an athlete, actually.
They'd be
You
like,
know?
whoa.
They'd be like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's not really what the family does.
Right,
man."
right. I'd be like the black sheep. I'd be the one like, you're never gonna make it as a
Like, come
doctor.
on.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
disappointing
Yeah,
us.
you're disappointing. Get in the studio.
Come on, man, write something up.
But then, I became this obsessive Beatles fan when I was a kid. And as like a little kid, I would, watch the anthology tapes over and over again and listen to the albums over. And so I started writing music. And then I made this band with my brother and a bunch of my friends. And then my mom created this TV show about us. And it was like a mock documentary type thing that kind of blew up on Nickelodeon. And then I got like really famous at like 12 years old or something, to
Which
the point
must
where it was
have been
very
insane.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was overwhelming and sort of strange. And then I got completely unfamous, and it just went away. And I was like, that's really strange. But it sort of prepared me for this business, which is a lot of ups and downs, and it trained me to just focus on the work and what happens in your career. I mean, you can put your heart into your career too, but just in terms of the reaction to things, and the things you can't control, you can't control. So it's just about doing the best you can and working hard. But then after that, I started doing like some off-Broadway plays in New York, and working with different acting teachers, and started watching like all these. I would fall in love with these actors from the '70s or even from the '60s, and watch all their movies. And then I started falling in love with directors, and And then, like, by the end of high school, I started working and doing films and still playing a band with Alex. And I like long walks on the beach. I go to therapy.
Hey, you do it all.
Yeah.
You've really packed a lot into your career so far. I mean, like getting famous at 12, like what's the wildest thing from that time? Like, when did it hit to be like, oh my gosh, my life is completely transformed?
I mean, it used to be. I mean, I've now, had moments where people were really paying attention to me. Whether it's like when The Fault in Our Stars came out, people like, or taking pictures or whatever it is. But that level of being a kid and being like the same, like going to, I don't know, a sports game or something and having like kids kind of, like, that was insane.
It's intense.
That was intense and a little overwhelming. I mean, everyone was always sweet, but I actually think some kid tried to rip my brother's hair out of his head or something. But we don't have that many crazy stories. I mean,
that one's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
As a 12-year-old kid, you're like, maybe don't rip my hair?
Yeah, totally. But then it was a really interesting transition and then I was like, suddenly I was 6'1", and I was like, looked completely different, and so I wasn't, you know, nobody knew who I am, and then I was, it was kind of a good lesson about that stuff, that it's just completely out of your control.
Yeah, you know? Totally. So why don't we go into that point? So you've done this whole thing.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're discovering art from the 60s and 70s. You're getting into the whole theater scene. Like, what were some of the coolest moments that part of your life where you're not the center of attention for a second here?
Yeah, I still was touring with my brother, so we'd play lots of shows and stuff. But yeah, in general, I was in school, and I think I feel really, really lucky, because I know that it takes an extra strong person, I think, to make it through without having a real life.
Yeah.
Sort of. You know, as you can see with a lot of these kids who really struggle, and I think I got lucky. First of all, I have good parents, you know, that are crazy in their own way, but are very have really good, you know, they're really good people, and so I think I had that advantage, and then also, yeah, this time of really learning the craft of acting and being able to really develop as a musician, as an actor, I think was necessary, and then also to sort of have a life, you know, which I don't think some kids who become famous as kids, they sort of lose that, and so I got that.
Was there a pressure on you to hit with certain things? Because like you clearly get famous at 12. Like after that, is there a little bit of an extra pressure to be like, I got to find the next thing, or I got to hit on this movie?
I think that maybe immediately after there was like well, what's happening? But then that kind of went away, and as soon as that went away, the good things started happening. It's like with everything in life, like as soon as you take the pressure off,
yeah,
the good things start happening. Yeah, as soon as you like release a little bit, you know.
Yeah, you just let it go. Sometimes we're so focused on making something happen, we're doing everything in our power, and it's like you just keep hitting the wall.
Yep.
And then you completely are like, I'm out, and then boom, the next thing happens.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you go, boom, I'm out, and then you think like, well, why am I doing this? Why do I really love it? And I'm constantly, you know, because it is really hard to keep out the noise. You know, even now, like of everything that isn't the creativity, it's hard, and it's a process. But I feel like that experience that really informed me, and that's made it easier.
And I'm sure it's easier that your brother is going through a similar growth. Like it's not just you on an island here. Like you guys can kind of compare experiences.
Totally, we have each other.
Yeah.
You know, and that's been really, really important. And we have a good group of friends and things like that. But yeah, because it is odd, you know, and also it's an annoying thing to complain about it. You know, like oh, this movie only made $10 million instead of $20 million, like, you know, which is ridiculous. You know, it's a ridiculous thing to worry about. But at the same time, it is a thing, you know. It's part of being an actor,
Absolutely.
You know. It is
we all complain about our jobs,
yeah.
You know, like we all have tough day at our jobs.
Right.
And people will look at you guys and be like, oh, well, you're an actor and this and that. It's like, no, people still have rough days.
Totally.
Like, let's just talk about it,
Totally,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. So when I look at your career, like you've done all these different types of projects, worked with family, worked with a bunch of different people. Like what sticks out to you? Like what are your favorite experiences?
Yeah, working with my family as a kid was really magical. I think weirdly these last couple of things that I've been able to work on, I feel like I'm finally playing the parts that I kind of dreamed of playing when I was like watching all those movies from the 70s, and more character-driven stories with characters that are a little bit more complex or adult. But I did a movie when I was 17 called Palo Alto that I'm really proud of, and I just got to work with Gia, the director, again on a movie that I think is going to be maybe even better, and I really do love that movie.
So what were some of those movies from the 70s where you're like, all right, these characters are going deep.
Yeah.
I like this.
I mean, I watched Kramer versus Kramer when I was like 12, and I thought it almost felt like a documentary about what it is to be a son, to be a father, and you know, I loved like the character studies, like Taxi Driver, and kind of the movies that everybody loves. And then as I got older, I got into like different John Cassavetes movies, and there was just a certain thing, there was a certain way that they made movies in the 70s where it felt like you were let into the world of the character, you know, as opposed to a character serving a function of the plot, which, you know, there's good movies about, you know, where that there's certain movies that work that are like that, but those aren't usually the ones that I gravitate towards.
That experience you're mentioning, it's a little bit more intimate when you get in there, and you get to really see how that person's brain kind of works.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I feel like I know Benjamin Braddock from The Graduate. You know?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you look at that movie and you're like,
I know that guy.
Yeah, you know that guy, you would hang out with that guy.
I am that guy in some ways.
You can be that guy,
yeah.
So then you go into this world here, and you're trying to be this guy. So what is it like to jump in there, and how do you become that guy? How do you become that soldier?
I think one of the things about this movie is that you could set it in a lot of different scenarios, and the interpersonal relationships would be similar. You know, like a young innocent that wants to make a name for himself and do something grand, and then a sort of bad influence. You know, somebody that's a bad influence, sort of manipulating him, and there's almost a weird Svengali power to Skarsgård's character. A lot of the preparation was I got to go meet with the guy that I really played in real life, Adam. I went to go. I stayed with him in Seattle for a bit. Yeah,
wow.
and we became. You know, he's a really interesting, complicated guy. You know, and I got and he's somebody that is very inexpressive, and even though he's like full of trauma and pain from this event, you know, it did take a while to get him to open up, and most of the time we were like watching The Sopranos and just hanging out.
It's not a bad hang.
Yeah,
right?
Not a bad hang. But I think something about this character's lack of I wouldn't say emotional intelligence, but lack of the ability to express his, you know,
like a vulnerability emotionally.
Yeah, like he's super sensitive, but has a hard time expressing it and being open about it, and that kind of character that's very different from me. You know, who grew up like in a house of artists and stuff. But I actually feel like Adam, is more of a sensitive type than a lot of the soldiers around him. You know, and I think that made it so he could see what was evil about what they were doing better and clearer than a lot of the other guys. And so I connected to that part of him. And also I felt like when I was playing that character, I felt sick to my stomach almost at the end of every day, because there's so many scenes where I'm feeling these kind of heavy feelings and I'm not able to express them, and I wasn't able to. And as Nat, I wanted to be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean?
I want to just put it out there.
Yeah, but this character is like, he's been raised in a completely different way, so I think holding that all in was like holding a lot of toxic energy inside.
And you also know the guy. You spent time with the guy, so you're thinking about that.
I feel responsible, yeah.
Had you ever stayed with somebody that you had played before? That sounds pretty unique. Yeah,
no,
how does that even happen?
I barely ever played any real people before, so it was a real. I reached out to him through Dan of the documentary, and I didn't hear back for a bit. Then I heard back, and then I was on the next plane.
So how long were you out there?
I was out there for 3 days. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were just like, whatever happens, I'm just gonna roll.
Well, I thought I was gonna maybe like be there for a night and then leave, and he was super cool, and we got to like. Besides everything, there were just ways in which we were raised and things that we had in common that I would never have expected. And we liked a lot of the same, you know, like we love Sopranos.
Yeah, I mean, even though you're somebody in your 20s, like you have all these connective points with people who are older based on your experiences, based on what you like, based on just like talking with a guy.
Right,
you know?
Totally.
You're just that type of guy, it seems like. So it's pretty cool. Why don't we talk about Alex here, because you're going to be linked with him for a good while now.
Another 6 months.
This movie, the CBS show. Yeah. I mean, I watched him Big Little Lies, and I'm just like, wow. Okay, intense. This guy's pretty intense. So what was it like actually hanging out and working with him?
Great. You know, I think he in real life, he is not scary.
He's not the monster.
You know what I mean? But I think casting him in a part like this, or he's playing the devil in The Stand, is a perfect casting because his natural quality is so charming and seductive, and sort of there's almost an effortlessness about him. So you put him in one of these characters, and it makes it really dynamic. You know, as if you put a guy that's clearly evil. You know, those actors that you see their face in a movie, and you're like, okay,
that's a bad guy.
That guy murdered the people. Yeah. They come in and they're like, hello, and
you're like,
you
get the really
obviously,
charming guy.
Yeah. No, but you get the guy that's like, seems like, you know, you want to be friends with him, and then he's doing these things. It puts a little bit more of a you know, when you're watching it, it messes with your head a little bit more. And those people are like that. You know, those people who have a lot of power, they're not usually scary one way. You know, you meet people that have a lot of power, and usually they're, you know, charmers.
Yeah, it's trippy.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, Nat, it's been a pleasure, man.
So
Thanks
great meeting you, man.
October
Thank you
25th,
so much.
the big day for this?
October 25th, big
Cool.
day.
That's
Big
Nat.
day.
I'm DJ. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.